In this video, we're looking at the GepRC Smart 35 airframe. This is my favorite airframe at the moment for 3.5 inch and of course my daily flyer. We're going to look at the components you get in the kit and look at the features and benefits of the frame, and I'm going to show you a couple of different options for fitting out the frame. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, Cube here, welcome back to the workshop. Let's start by taking a look at what you get in the kit. The frame itself, the top plate, the base plate, the side plates and the extra arm supports. A battery strap, antenna supports, an Allen key, battery mount rubbers that go underneath the arms, and also the motor wire protectors. 3 TPU mounts, one for the VTX antenna, the crossfire antenna, and another one for the camera. A selection of M2 dampeners, you've got 4 of them for spacers and 8 of them for mounting the flight controller. 6 frame standoffs, these are 25mm. M2 cap head bolts for the frame, you've got 17 9mm ones, 8 7mm ones, 26mm ones, 2 4mm ones there for the camera, and 8 M2 nuts. These are steel nuts, not plastic. M2 square head bolts for stack mounting, you've got 4 12mm, 4 18mm and 4 25mm ones. Some random bolts and parts for screwing the camera in the camera mount. A selection of stickers of course, and finally a nicely set out instruction manual. Okay, so a nice set of inclusions in the kit, but one thing I do want to make a point about is the battery mount rubber. And it really is just absolutely tiny. Here's a 750 mAh 4S battery, and you can see the size comparison there. It's not going to hold anything on. So you think, why is it so small? And if you take a look at the manual, you can see their minimum battery they're recommending is 50 mAh. Okay, so there you go. That's the reason why. Okay, let's get on to the stack mounting patterns. So first of all, on the top plate, we've got a 20 by 20 mounting pattern here, and this means you can actually mount components on the top plate and literally have them hanging down, while you've got the stack mounted below for the flight controller. On the base plate here, you can see we've got various mounting holes, so we might just take a look at the different patterns we've got there. Okay, so let's take a look at the top plate first. Here's our 20 by 20 mounting pattern here. And if we take a look at the base plate, we've got various holes here, and we'll take a look at the different mounting patterns we're going to have for those holes. First of all, the yellow one in the middle is the central 20 by 20 stack. So this is if you've got an ESC and flight controller stack, it can go there. If we take a look at the green one here, this is our what you call a whip mounting stack. It's 26.5 by 26.5. And if you can see the 2 red ones here, they're actually sharing these holes here from the central stack. So you can actually have 2 20 by 20 mounts. Okay, so individually, here's our whip mount. Here's our centralized 20 by 20 stack. And here's our dual 20 by 20 stack. So in this configuration, you could have a flight controller mounted up the front here. And yes, it's okay not to have the flight controller directly in the middle of the airframe. You can have it mounted just up here, it's fine. And you could have a VTX down the back here, say a CADX Vista, or some other VTX with a 20 by 20 mount. So there we go, it's quite a versatile frame as far as mounting patterns go. And also remember, if you are using the central 20 by 20 mounting pattern here, you've also got some holes here and here, which you can move the standoffs to here if you wanted to, or you could even put some additional ones in for strength. It's up to you. At least it gives you options. Okay, so there we go. It's a frame that gives you a lot of options for mounting stacks. And in fact, even if you want to put an all-in-one flight controller, you can actually fit it in this frame. If we have a look at the space between the standoffs here, you can see there's ample space for an all-in-one flight controller there. And it's not always the case with some frames. Some frames will have standoffs here, and it won't let you fit the all-in-one flight controller in. I've actually got the flight controller and all-in-one flight controller on this one. It's actually this flight controller here. So we'll just have a look at that. Okay, so there we go. You can see the all-in-one flight controller down the bottom there. And in this case, I've got above the flight controller, I've got a naked Vista unit on top of there. But plenty of room between this standoff at the front here, and of course the ones at the back there for the all-in-one board, and even enough room at the back for a FETEX spike absorber as well. Okay, a little bit more on stack mounting at the end of the video. I'm going to show you some example stack mounts. Let's have a look at the arms. Okay, so you can see the arm is the same width all the way along. and more importantly, when you look at the mounting pattern for the motors, you can see that we've got a 9 to 12 mounting pattern here. So this will take motors with 9x9 mounting patterns as well as 12x12 mounting patterns, and it's really good that they've made it versatile and made these the slot type instead of just choosing 9 or 12. So while we're on the subject of arms, let's have a look at the arm pattern. This is not a true X frame, so it means that this angle here is not 90 degrees, it's a bit less than 90 degrees. So what that does, it has the effect of drawing the motors closer to each other. So you'll find that the frame is wider this way than it is tall. Right, let's have a look at this on the computer. And we can see that here in this diagram. You can see this angle is much less than 90 degrees. And it's interesting, if we actually put a line through here, straight down the middle of this arm, we can see that it seems to give the impression that the rear arms have been moved forward. Well, actually, this is a contracted X, so what that means is the arms are moved closer together. It doesn't necessarily mean the rear arms have been moved further forward, it's just that the arms are closer together. The set of rear arms and the set of front arms have been pulled in towards each other. So what this does is, this actually brings these motors closer together, and it pulls these front motors back, importantly, pulls them back further and gives you a clear view out the front, so you tend to get less props in view. You don't get those prop discs in view in the camera. Now, one more piece you get with the kit are these additional arm braces to go on the front and rear arms. Let's put them on and we'll see how it looks. Okay, so here we go with the additional braces attached. Let's just have a look at them. Okay, so you can see that they're actually attached using the standoff screws on the back and the front here. And where they attach to the arms, if we look at this view, we can see that two of the motor screws, you use two longer screws, and they just go straight through here. So of course this is great, and it gives a lot of strength, but you really have to ask yourself, what sort of pilot are you? Are you the sort of pilot that crashes into the ground, or are you the sort of pilot who crashes into a tree? Because now that you've put these arms on, you now have a tree magnet, a literal tree magnet. You've got 4 holes here that can get caught in twigs. Now, if you're going to crash into the ground, of course, this is going to give a lot of support. Personally, I leave them off. These arms are actually 4mm carbon, and they're plenty strong enough, I feel. So I just, I don't put them on, and I just leave the airframe like this. So looking at the camera mount, we've got a 19mm camera mount here. So the side plates have got a 19mm spacing. So of course you're going to be using a larger and slightly heavier camera like this one here. And of course if you want to run a 14mm camera, you can add some spacers in there. The kit comes with 3 TPU mounts. There's the camera mount, the VTX mount and the crossfire mount. We'll have a look at these. This one here's the VTX mount. So this one here actually mounts on the standoffs. If we have a look at the actual built one here, we can see that it mounts on the standoffs instead of going on the top plate here, which is really good. And it's got a 4mm hole there. It's good for a Cadix Vista unit, or even an analog one with a UFL connector. The antenna should fit in there quite well. We've got the mount for the camera. So this will fit our SMO 4K, or some of the Insta360 mounts will fit there as well as the crossfire mount here for your antenna. Okay, so a good arrangement of TPU mounts that come with the kit. Okay, so with the frame, there's multiple ways that you can fit it out as far as the electronics components go. You can have stacks in the center or dual stacks. This one I've already built here. If we have a look at it, we can see that I've gone with all-in-one board down the bottom here and a naked Vista on top, and still plenty of room above that for the battery strap to fit clearly. Here's our first example using an all-in-one board on the bottom there. And when you use an all-in-one board, you can either put a naked Vista on top of it, or as I've got here, an analog VTX. And we'll just have a look underneath. You can see there we're using the 20x20 mounting pattern, the centralized mounting pattern. Okay, so that's the first example. In this example, we've got a dual mount, so you can see up the front here we've got our stack, we've got our ESC on the bottom and flight control on the top, and on the rear, in this example, I've got an analog VTX. It could be a naked Vista or even a fully encased Vista. Having a look underneath here, you can see our dual mounts. 20 by 20 at the front, 20 by 20 at the back. Now the only consideration you have here, and this is going to depend on what your flight controller looks like, you may not have much clearance between your flight controller and this standoff. So you'll either have to choose the flight controller that will fit in there correctly, or you could actually remove these two standoffs. Of course, it's going to weaken the frame, but there is an option to just remove those two standoffs and go without them. In our final example here, you can see we're utilizing the 20 by 20 mounting pattern on the top plate. And if I just take this off, you can see it there. We've actually mounted a naked Vista unit on there. And this is useful if you're actually utilizing the 26 by 26 mounting pattern on the base frame here. Of course, you won't be able to mount a VTX on top there that's got a 20 by 20 mounting pattern. So you can split it and actually put the VTX on the top plate and the flight controller on the base plate. The only disadvantage is that you're going to have wires trailing from the top plate to the base plate, and you won't be able to completely take the top plate off. Okay, but that's an option if you do have one of the larger flight controllers and you want to mount it on the base plate there. So there we go, the GepRC Smart 35. I think this is probably one of the better 3.5-inch frames on the market at the moment. It's my daily flyer at the moment. And I'm actually going to be putting this review and a lot of other photos and information on the website that I'm making. And there's going to be a link for that down in the description once it goes live. Till next time, happy flying.